What's up? All right. So, what's the difference in TLB 150 and RAD 140? They're both, to understand TLB, or the RAD 150 as it's called, then you have to understand RAD 140, because it is an esterified alkalized version of RAD. Now, RAD140 is a SARM, which is a selective androgen receptor modulator. It is selective to the androgen receptor in the muscle, which is the receptor in the muscle that testosterone fits in. What that means is it's going to give your body the opportunity to grow more muscle. Now, what does that mean? Basically, you're fitting the receptors in the muscle that your testosterone would fit in, thereby giving the body the opportunity to grow more muscle with the testosterone it can produce. That's a general rundown. This fits in that receptor very well, and it's selective to that. It doesn't cause the prostate issues. It doesn't cause a lot of the systemic issues that you get from testosterone. So that's a SARM. Now, the benefits of TLB or RAD are going to be your increased muscle mass. Now, not yours, because this is a research chemical that is not for human consumption. I'm speaking about my personal experiences with it, but this is not something you should do. I do not recommend that you do it. I'm just saying I did it with my doctor's permission, okay? So with that said, what I have experienced is increased muscle by 4 to 15 pounds, and I've seen this over and over. Focus, protection from Alzheimer's or slowing the progression thereof. And no, I don't have Alzheimer's, but these are the double-blind controlled placebo studies they've done on humans and rats. No bloating, no hunger, faster metabolism, a 90-to-1 anabolic to androgenic ratio. What that means is it's 90 times more selective to the anabolic aspect, or the muscle building aspect of testosterone, than the androgenic, which is what causes you to lose your hair and, you know, get a deep voice and the male characteristics. So 90-to-1 anabolic to androgenic ratio, better stamina, more drive, like more ability, more just want to. Also, now TLB is all of that, but alkalized, meaning it's more absorbable, easier to assimilate in the body, and it's esterified, which was actually done for 2 reasons, I believe. 1, to make it last longer. 2, to alter it so it's not RAD140, so it can be sold as a research chemical for longer, because I really doubt they'll be using this for, well, the purposes of medicine. This one was probably the closest thing that you could find to made for anabolic bodybuilding. That's all I could tell you. This is going to be... Now, here's the question I have. Since we have found out that a single dose of RAD140 can be taken up to like 150 grams in a single dose for a woman who has cancer, meaning the toxicity of this is like incredibly low, but it's effective at 1 milligram. Think about that. You can literally tell the statistical differences in a human body at 1 milligram per day, and the single dose to see if it is to assess a person's response can be up to 150 milligrams. 1 milligram effective. So Your dose and duration of dose are going to be different with these two, considering two things. Number one, the alkalization should make it work faster, make it more absorbable with less toxicity left over. But the esterification should even extend it out. Now, I'm not sure if one counterbalances the other, so you still end up with this 60-hour half-life, but let's just roll with that. So you got 5-day half-life. This is test. I mean, it's oral testosterone. You could literally dose it once a week. But I think it would probably be better, like so with test, if it were administered every day in small doses instead of once a week. The problem with test is you got to inject it. Who the hell wants to inject something every day? That's ugh. So it's hard enough doing it once a week. So this would essentially be the effects of testosterone with less side effects to the prostate and some other organs, but with the same effectiveness on the muscle. That is astounding. I mean, it's almost like they have perfected testosterone therapy for the athlete. But of course the athlete can't take it, because that would be cheating. God forbid you use your brain to get ahead of the next guy, because that would be way over the top. Because these are research chemicals. They're not for human consumption. They're not to be eaten. They're not to be snorted. They're not to be banged. They're not to be insufflated. They're not to be given to your mother-in-law as a procreation aid. That was horrible. Nonetheless, research chemicals are simply for research purposes and research laboratories. They may cause bodily harm. I mean, they do have more testing than this vaccine that they're handing out to everyone in the freaking world. So I don't really know what to tell you as far as, I mean, you want to compare safety data? I got you. Honestly, nobody having heart attacks. So, I mean, TLB150 being an esterified RAD140, you could hypothesize that this is the one selective androgen receptor modulator that has less studies than the COVID vaccine. But take into consideration this. We already know what RAD140 does. It ain't nothing but an esterified version of it. RAD140's been out since like the 90s. So we've had longer term, more double-blind controlled placebo studies on humans than any of your COVID vaccines. This is closer to FDA approval than that crap. Because did you know that? It's not FDA approved. Your government don't approve it. You cannot sue the company that makes the vaccine. Right? Your government don't approve it. They are replicating the messenger RNA. That controls every single protein, what it does in your body. I'm sure they get that right every single time. We know how brilliant they are. I mean, like, look at all the growth hormone that's out there that is perfect every single time somebody tries to make it. MK677, much easier to produce and probably less screwed up than your average growth hormone. Anyway, so legal status is it is not for human consumption. It can only be sold as a research chemical, not for human consumption, and it must have on the label that it may cause bodily harm, and that's about as much as can be told. You have to figure out your own dosing and all that for your research animal. We can't figure that out for you. That's on you. Now, post-psychotherapy for your research animal, if they would like to regain their testosterone as quickly as possible, test PCT or really test up would be your best one. Newsarms.com is the only website you really need for research chemicals. They've got everything from nasal peptides like BPC-157, so you don't have to inject your fish, frog, monkey mouth, saber-tooth, spider cricket every freaking time. They also have all the selective androgen receptor modulators in capsules, some of them in liquids. Like TLB150 can be put in a liquid because it's esterified, but RAD140 cannot. According to the documentation of how you make RAD140, when you put that stuff in liquid, it starts to degenerate. Unlike TLB150, that's esterified and it's going to hang out for a long, long time. So my research animal has absolutely loved the cycle with TLB150. That, I think he put on like 4 or 5 pounds, but he also hasn't been working out like he should. He's been like hit or miss because he's had all this business and, you know, going to the Capitol and the FBI and all that was, you know, that was just all kind of fun. So it took up a lot of time, kind of threw him off because his goals got jacked up. But don't worry, about to come back, and it'll be an interesting next year, actually starting in September. So nonetheless, you have all the same effects of RAD140 with possibly a longer half-life, definitely a better absorption. So you get more bang for your buck right there. It's just, and it's going to be around for a while, knowing that RAD140 is getting closer and closer to becoming a pharmaceutical, which means we won't be able to carry it. This is probably going to be here for at least, it takes 10 years to get through FDA approval to make it a drug. So we got 10 years. So anyway, remember newsarms.com, you can use discount code Seth for 15% off at checkout. I say the two, one compared to the other, I've got to go with TLB150 every time. It even has the neurocognitive aspect and the Alzheimer's protection. And when it, like, it's going to do the same thing all the way around. So anyway, appreciate y'all. Any questions, comments, mild criticisms? I dropped my camera in the creek the other day, so I'm working off of this camera again. And I know y'all love the way that I sound on this camera. I get that on the back. I'll do it again if I need to, man. Love y'all. Peace. Newsarms.com.